So, hello, Jonathan here for Cloud Matsuri, and today we are talking about a very special Gundam, Gundam Seed. Special because it's the fantastic achievement of at one point occupying 8 of the top 10 anime DVD best-selling slots in Japan, and also was the first Gundam since the original in 1979 to win the Grand Prix from Anime magazine. And today to talk about this 18-year-old series with us ahead of its HD remastered release in December 2020 are the director Mitsuo Fukuda and the line producer Hiroomi Ikeya. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
はい、こんにちは。ガンダムシードの、テレビシリーズ版、監督の福田光雄と申します。今日はよろしくお願いいたします。
Hello everyone, I am the director of the Gundam Seed TV series, Mitsuo Fukuda.
And Mr. Ikeya, there are many different ways that a producer can work on a production. We have 12 of them listed in our translation guides. So could you please tell us a little bit about what you did on the production yourself as a line producer?
はい、サンライズの池谷博美と申します。そうですね。ガンダムシード当時は実は制作デスクというポジションでしたので、AD 制作進行たちをですね、管理して、スケジュールを管理するという仕事をしてました。で、今、プロデューサーというポジションなんですが、現場全体を仕切って、外部とのいろんな接触をしたりっていうことをやってます。日本語の中でもラインプロデューサーという言葉があるんですが、それに、近いところはあるかなと思います。はい。
I'm Hiroomi Ikeya from Sunrise. At the time of Gundam Seed, I was working on the production desk, so I was more like a production assistant at that point, working on the scheduling. Now I'm a producer. I have more oversight over the whole production, and I liaise with external parties as well. So I'm more of a line producer now.
And as you may both be aware, we've solicited questions from fandom, which means that we have an absolutely huge number of them, and we'll do our best to get through them in the best way that we can. We may well regret letting the fans choose what to ask, but we're going to give it a go.
大丈夫です。
No worries.
Well, let's see. First, I'd like to ask both of you how you got started working in the anime business.
そうですね。高校の時に、その進学と就職を考えてたんですけど、進学というか受験に失敗しまして、で、高校の時からものすごくその漫画とかアニメーションとか、あと小説とか、いろいろそういわゆるそのオタク文化の走りみたいな、そういったものにすごく興味があって、高校時代からもずっと活動をしてたんですけれども、そんなものが好きだったんで、なんでしょう、当時なんか一つでに、サンライズでちょっと人が足りないって言われまして、高校卒業してちょっとその受験失敗してこうふらーっとしてるところにそういう話が来て、サンライズにじゃあちょっと行ってみようかと思って履歴書持って行ったら、その場で採用されてしまって現在に至る感じです。
業界ある。
業界あるんです。当時すごく今こんな感じで結構こんな感じっていうか、アニメ業界も結構ビルも立派になってその商売の規模も大きくなったんですけど、やっぱりやってた当時っていうのはものすごくその海星飛行機をちょっとわからないかもしれないんだけど、小さいスタジオでもうみんなスタッフが寄せ集まってこう仕事してるような感じでずっと朝から晩までやってる感じなんで、なんて言うんでしょう。社会的にもあまり認められたような職種でもなく、実にこう細々と。
Well, when I was at high school, I was already interested in manga and animation, in novels, and all of that otaku culture. And I was at the stage where I had to decide between going on to higher education or going to work. And I failed my exams. So right at this point where I was wondering what I should do with my life, and I was at a bit of a loose end, I heard that Sunrise were looking for people. And I thought, give it a go, and they hired me. And now the anime industry is what it is. We have these nice buildings, and it's a big industry. But back then, it was a tiny little studio. Everyone was piled in on top of each other, working from morning till night, and it wasn't really a well-respected industry back then.
はい。そうですね。僕は学生時代に、映像を8ミリフィルムで撮っておりまして、で、映像を作る仕事がしたいなと思ってですね、アニメ業界に限らず、実写テレビも含めて、いろいろ受けてみたんですね。で、その中で、複数受かったんですけども、サンライズも合格いただきまして、で、やっぱり小さい頃からロボットアニメがとても好きだったっていうところもあって、実はアニメ業界で受けたのはサンライズだけなんですね。なので、運命ではないですけど、ちょっと感じまして、好きだったサンライズに入社したという形です。はい。
As a student, I used to make 8mm films, and I loved film. I wanted to work in film, not just animation at that point, but I was interested in live action. I was interested in TV, but I got into Sunrise, and in fact, Sunrise was the only place I got into, and I loved robot anime as a child, and so it was kind of destiny in a way that I should end up working here.
Now, Fukuda-san, you mentioned that you went straight from school to Sunrise. You joined, if I'm right, in 1979, so you must have been about 19 years old. And that was the year that the original Gundam aired. So what was it like working for Sunrise at that time?
僕が入った時にはですね、まだ、そのテレビシリーズのガンダムは、制作中でした。で、僕の仕事がそのガンダムの後番組だったんで、ちょうどそのガンダムの終了時の様子はすぐ間近で見れました。すごく狭いスタジオだったんで、富野監督がしょっちゅう怒ってました。
When I joined Sunrise, Gundam was the TV series was still in production, and so I got to see that up close. It was a very small studio, so it was very up close, and Tomino-san was basically getting cross a lot.
So nothing has changed, in fact. So when you yourself became a director on Gundam Seed, you came to it from you worked on a large number of other shows, and then I think Gundam Seed was your first Gundam production, and you went in as director. But was Tomino's directing style an influence on you when you took over, when you began work on Gundam Seed? And I don't think this question just means were you angry all the time. I think it means did you what lessons did you take perhaps from his storyboards and his approach to the story, or was this a deliberate attempt to do something completely different?
ビクトリーガンダムの絵コンテを
I actually did storyboards on Victory Gundam.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was misinformed by Wikipedia.
そんなもんです。
But actually, okay, let me just jump in at this point then, because this is something that I think even Gundam fans in Britain may not be aware of. But if Tomino had never made Gundam, he would still be a very important figure in the Japanese animation business because of the influence that he has in the creation of storyboards, of Ekonte. So same question applies on Victory Gundam as with Gundam Seed. What, if anything, did you draw as inspiration from his work?
大丈夫ですか。そうですね。富野監督の影響は確実にあると思います。あると思いますし、意識して、その今まで学んできた演出技法とかっていうのは、いわゆるその富野監督がこうずっと作ってこられたロボットアニメーションとかっていうラインを、やっぱり僕ら同じスタジオなんで、会社なんで、 大なり小なり意識して、影響は受けてると思いますし、そもそもガンダムというのは富野監督の、作られた世界観なので、それをやっぱり否定するような形のものは絶対作れません。
There was definitely an influence from Tomino-san. The directing techniques that I've learnt come from the same studio, the same company that makes these robot anime, and so to a greater or lesser degree, I've always been aware of his influence. And Gundam is Tomino-san's worldview, and you can't make Gundam without that.
This was the first Gundam series of the 21st century. I know there were little things like G-Savior and Green Diver, but they weren't TV shows. This is the first Gundam show of the 21st century to go into production, the first of the 21st century, the first after 9/11, an event in which, a terrorist event in which the Japanese lost 24 lives. So were there any specific influences when it came to the creation of Gundam Seed beyond the desire to do another Gundam series?
9.11 の事件というのは、ものすごくその世界を考えるきっかけになったと思います。で、それに続く、これはちょっとあるんですけど、イラク戦争っていうのはものすごく僕らにもそのショッキングな出来事だったし、これは新しい時代の、ものを考える上では必要かなとか思いました。ファーストガンダムっていうのは、いわゆる、ベトナム戦争のちょうど直後ぐらいに作られた作品で、その色合いがものすごく出てるんですよ。それとまたその富野監督の、ちょうどその前の時代にその太平洋戦争っていうものがあります。ガンダムっていうのが、ファーストガンダムが、なんていうんですか、ベトナム戦争をすごく、強く影響を受けた、世界観だと思うんですよ。で、それはスタッフが僕らのさらに、上の世代で、ちょうどその戦後、太平洋戦争後に生まれた世代、あるいはその戦中に生まれた世代というのが多く関わられてたんで、僕らはそれより後の世代ですからね。逆に言うと、その頃の時代のことっていうのは、一つに聞いた話とぐらいしか知らないので、実際僕らがリアルに体験してるっていうのは、やっぱりその、画面の中の戦争ではあるんですけれども、その 9.11 から、イラク戦争、アフガンの、戦争ですか、あの辺をやっぱりメインにせざるを得ないなというか、そこをやっぱり大きく考える、きっかけになったと思いますので。
The original Gundam was made right after the Vietnam War and was heavily influenced by the Vietnam War. The staff who worked on that were a generation above me, and some of them were born during the Asia-Pacific War, some of them were born just after. But we're a later generation now, and we've only heard their stories. We didn't experience it, and so we wanted a new Gundam that was more in line with what we know, which is 9/11, the Iraq War, Afghanistan. They needed to be part of the new worldview.
So, what was the view from the production desk? Were these what's the word? Were these subtexts something that was considered during production, or was this regarded as a sci-fi show?
なるほど。でも、そうですね。僕もガンダムっていう作品に携わったのは、ガンダムシードが初めてでしたので、単純にガンダムっていう作品に携わってるっていう、感覚は、先に先行はしました。ただ、劇中で描いていくキャラクターが、なんだろうな、新しい人種との、すれ違いみたいな部分も、多く描いていたと思いますので、そういう意味では、福田さんがさっきおっしゃったような、民族間の戦争みたいなところは、シードの、描いた特徴の一つでもあるのかなっていうふうには、振り返ってみると思うこともできます。はい。
Gundam Seed was the first Gundam project that I had been involved in, and so at the time, for me, it was very much about being involved in Gundam. But looking back, I can see that the theme of encountering people from different ethnicities is there in Gundam Seed.
And this is the question which I think the production desk can answer, and if not, we'll try Mr. Fukuda. But what was the biggest inspiration for the creation of Kira Yamato?
これはですね、実際そのアイデアを出したのは僕の奥さんの諸沢千秋なんですけれども、イラク戦争の時にイラクをそのアメリカ軍の中に、イラク人の兵士がいたんですよ。要するに祖国と戦うことになっちゃった兵士の、話というのが新聞で見かけまして、それが一番大きなインスピレーションになったと思います。と聞いております。
The idea of Kira Yamato's character actually came from my wife, Chiaki Murasawa. She had read in the newspaper the story of an Iraqi soldier fighting for the US Army in the Iraq War. So he was essentially fighting his own country.
Since you mentioned your late wife, Murasawa-san, I'd like to ask as well about the decision that someone must have taken for this to be an entirely different timeline. I suppose different timeline is the wrong word. This is set in a different century, in the cosmic era. So there has been some decision made at some point in the writing process for this to be not the universal century, but what I'm going to call a different timeline and wait to be corrected. Why was that decision taken with Gundam Seed?
そうでしたね。これはいろいろと議論があったと思いますが、基本的に今までのガンダムのラインに載せたくないというのは、多分ね、吉井プロデューサーの意見だったと思うんですよね。当時の社長ですね。
I think there was a lot of discussion about that, but in the end, I think it was Yoshi, the president of Sunrise at the time, who decided that it shouldn't be part of the same timeline.
We've got some very specific questions here about Ruckus Klein. Firstly, who did you turn to in inspiration for that character?
これは全く僕これキャラクターに関しては、諸沢千秋が、ほぼ全権を握ってたので、発想も僕ではないので、わからないです。多分彼女の発想なんですけども、意味合いとして聞いてたのは、ラックス・クラインというのは、人を映す鏡だっていうふうに彼女は言ってたんですよ。要するに、なんて言うんでしょう。自分の心を映す鏡だからラックスが必要なんだというふうに、言ってた記憶はあります。あれですね。どう言ったらいいのかな。モデルは誰なのって言われると、うちの諸沢の部分、一部分はあると思います。あれは、キャラクター。怖いです。
I didn't design the characters, so it wasn't Ruckus Klein wasn't my idea. She was pretty much entirely Chiaki Murasawa's idea. I do remember her saying that the idea of Ruckus Klein was that she would be a mirror of other people, and that that was why she was necessary, to reflect other people's hearts. As to who she was inspired by, I think there's a bit of Chiaki Murasawa in there, which is frightening.
All right. The designs for the Gundam Mecha in this show were by Kunio Okuwara, Kibitoshi Yamane, the designers who've been working with Gundam for a very, very long time. So the question is, how much input did you have into these Gundam designs? Working on the assumption, presumably, that these people are so scary that maybe you don't want to tell them what to do, or maybe you had very specific ideas about what you wanted in this show.
モビルスーツに関しては、コンセプトを、文章化してお渡ししました。で、あと、一部のモビルスーツに関しては、ラフを作成して、それを、大河原さんに完成させてもらうような形を取りました。で、これ、モビルスーツは、ほぼ 100%、すべて大河原さんで、山根さんは、戦艦、船と、あと、なんだろう、それ、モビルスーツ以外の兵器は山根さんの担当になっております。
I wrote a concept for the mobile suits in Gundam Seed and gave it to Ogawara-san. For some of them, I did a rough design that I handed over for Ogawara-san to work with. The suits themselves were 100% Ogawara-san, and then Yamane-san worked more on the ships and the other types of machines.
And what mobile suits from previous series, if any, helped inspire the designs of the Strike Gundam and the Freedom Gundam?
いや、ガンダムにはないです。ガンダムではないです。
No previous Gundams, no.
And Mr. Ikeya, it's a question for both of you, but I want to run this one past you as from the production desk. What is your favorite mobile suit from Gundam Seed, and why?
ストライクダガーというモビルスーツが一番好きで、理由は、量産型っていうジャンルが私は好きなので、量産型はモビルスーツが好きということです。
Yeah, I like the Strike Dagger because I like the mass-produced Gundams. So that's why I like that particular one.
Same question for Mr. Fukuda. What's your favorite Gundam from Gundam Seed? You can't say all of them.
そうですね。僕ね、モビルスーツより船が好きなんですよ。どちらかといえば。アークエンジェルは非常に気に入っております。
I actually prefer the ships to the mobile suits. I really like the Archangel.
Okay, we won't tell Bandai. So when Kira states that the freedom, this is now getting very, very fanish and very specific, and we're not even sure that we're going to understand the answer if you have one. But when Kira states that the Freedom Gundam has 4 times the power of the Strike Gundam, what quantity is he referring to? And is there a precise range or number you can give? I'd like to say as well, I didn't write that question. This is all coming from fandom.
数値に関してはプラモデルに何か表記があったような気がするんですけど、まあ、エネルギーというよりは、電力ですよね。電力が4倍使える。全部、ストライクの、武器も、防御兵器も、その飛行システムに関わる部分も全部電力絡みなので、まあ、かなり強い電力がまあ、発電機とバッテリーがないとできないという設定なので、まあ、そういう意味での 4倍強いというのはその電力のことだというふうに、思っていただいて間違いないと思うんですけど。
Everything on the Gundams in this series, the weapons, the defense systems, the movement, it all relies on battery power. And the Strike runs out of battery quite a lot. So I think that's what it refers to when he says that the Freedom Gundam has more power. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yes. So for those watching in black and white, this is a reference to the fact that the power systems on Earth have been shut down by plant. So everything has to run on batteries. Okay, I understand. So another question here about the cosmic era. we've got a fan question here that says, where did the ideas come for the different continental regional federations? And here's a very odd political addendum. Do you think we're moving further towards them?
ですね、このシードのその世界観を作るときに、実はそのシナリオライターの吉野さんという方が一緒にシナリオを書かれてるんですけども、その方はシナリオライターになる前に、歴史の先生をやってたんですよ。学校で歴史を教えてる先生なんですよ。で、その方にもレクチャーを受けて、まあ、2000年前の、まあ、いわゆるその紀元前から今日に至るまでの、まあ、社会がどういうふうに変化してきた、宗教がどういうことを変化してきたっていうことを、まあ、いろいろみんなでディスカッションした中で、まあ、物語上に落とし込むために陣営を分けようということになって、こういうふうな形になったと思います。なので、まあ、今の時代とはちょっとまた違ってきてるかなっていう気はしますけれども、当時の2000年、2001年くらいの、状況は、ものすごく反映していろいろとものを考えれた記憶があります。
So when we were writing Gundam Seed and creating the worldview, I was actually working with Yoshino-san, the scenario writer, who used to be a history teacher. And so we had a lot of discussions, and actually Yoshino-san gave me a lecture on the history of the world over the last 2,000 years. So how society has changed, how religion has changed the world, and we had a lot of discussions around this, and that was where the idea for having these federations came from. I think society at that time, when we were making Seed, was quite different to now. But we did think a lot about how society was at that time when we were making it.
Okay, now this is a very generic question that's been inserted in here, so I'm going to throw it at Mr. Ikeya as well as Mr. Fukuda. But Mr. Ikeya first, do you have a favorite episode of Gundam Seed? And if so, why that one?
ガンダムシード、好きな話数。そうですね。ガンダムシードの1話が僕は好きですね。はい。まあ、ここから物語が動き出すぞっていう、ワクワク感もありますし、最後にやっぱりガンダムが立つところまで持っていけるところの流れとかも含めて、まあ、新しいガンダムが始まるっていうところが象徴的に見せられているし、第1話が好きです。はい。
I like the first episode of Gundam Seed. There's the excitement of something new beginning, and then how you get to that end part of the episode where the Gundam stands up, symbolizing the start of a new Gundam.
Same question for Mr. Fukuda, but actually I'm going to try my luck here and add an addendum of my own. I'd like to know what your favorite episode of Gundam Seed is and why, but also I'm much more interested in your least favorite episode. Is there one episode that was really difficult to get out and which has haunted you ever since?
好きな話数はね、まあ、嫌いな話数はないですよ。当然ですけど。嫌いな話数はないですけど、全部苦労してるから楽に作れた記憶がないです。ただ、最終回は、自分でその演出も担当しましたんで、まあなんだろう、自分で絵コンテを描き、演出ができっていうことは、やっぱりその分思い入れも強いし、苦労のしがいはあったかなと思いますね。まあ、最終回かな。まあ、最終回だと思う。最終回は非常に苦労して、 苦労のしがいがありました。
Well, there are no episodes that I don't like, and they were all hard work. I don't recall any of them being easy, but the final episode I directed myself, and I did the storyboards myself, so that's very memorable, and it was particularly tough, but very worthwhile.
Here is a very long question, which I'm going to have to read out. That's how long it is. The world of Seed is rife with upheaval and mistrust, with average, innocent young people caught up in its events. Given the chaotic times we're currently living through in reality, do you feel this gives Gundam Seed a renewed relevance to audiences?
どうでしょうね。見た方に判断してもらうしかないんですけど、激変と不信というか、そのシードのテーマっていうのは戦争を扱ってるんですけど、実は描いてるものってキラとその仲間たちのごく身近なストーリーなんですよ。で、そこにあるのが、大丈夫ですか？そこで、描こうとしているのは、カテゴリー依存からの脱却っていうことなんですよ。で、それ当時日本の要するに学校とか職場とか、そういうものですごく、問題になっていて、これはいかんなって、これがなんか人の争いの、まずネタに元になってるんじゃないかっていうところからスタートしたんで、なんだろう、ある意味、日本の問題から僕ら考えてしまったんで、それがね、世界の方々に通じるかどうか、ちょっと僕は分からないんですけど、日本では、日本人のメンタルとして、感じられることは全て盛り込んだというふうにしかちょっと今お話しできないと思いますので。
I think you'd have to ask the viewers about that one. The theme of Gundam Seed is war. You mentioned upheaval and mistrust, but what it's actually depicting is the experience and the story of Kira and his friends. And what it shows them trying to do is to break out of the pigeonholes that they've been put into. And at the time, that was a big issue in Japanese schools and in the Japanese workplaces. And it was something I thought a lot about as being the basis for fighting between people. So in a way, it was a Japanese issue that I was trying to confront with Gundam Seed, and I'm not entirely sure how well that comes across to a global audience because it's a Japanese psychology.
True enough, but and this leads us into our next question, which was about the kind of people that you expected to watch Gundam Seed. This has been a very successful iteration of the franchise. And when you were first creating it, was the hope to bring in new fans to Gundam to kind of reset to zero, or were you writing something to cater to the existing fans?
やっぱりなんて言うんでしょう。既存のファンに向けて作ったものじゃなくて、新しいファンに、見てもらうためのものとして作ったんですけれども、それゆえにコズミックイラーという新しい世界観を作り出し、やっぱり当時の子供たち、要するにシードを制作時の、子供たちが直面している問題をテーマとして内包させたという形ですね。当時ですね、ガンダム・ジ・オリジンというシリーズ、漫画のシリーズがありまして、既存のファンに向けて作られるコンテンツというのはあるので、僕らは全く違うアプローチで、ガンダムに、行こうというふうな、ガンダムをやろうというふうに考えておりま
Gundam
す。
Seed wasn't really intended for the existing Gundam fans. It was aimed at a new target audience with the new era, the new cosmic era, and also targeting young people who were facing the issues that Gundam Seed deals with. Gundam, the origin was also around at the time, so there was material out there for the existing fans, but I wanted to take a different approach.
Mr. Ikeya, what do you remember about your time on Gundam Seed? When you look back on it, what are the experiences that you had on that show that still stay with you today?
思い出。そうですね。福田さんが先ほど、その、全話数、とてもタフだったとおっしゃいましたけど、現場的にもやっぱり、ロボットものを一から作っていくっていうことも含めてとても大変でした。あと、最近アニメって13本とか26本っていう作品が多い中で、20年近く前とはいえ、1年間通して作る。で、なおかつその後にリスニングも1年作るっていう、その現場としての大変さというのはありました。はい。ロボットものですので、ロボットを描いてくださる方をやっぱり、手配するという部分もそうでしたし、あとはやっぱり1年続くっていうところが、とても大変でした。はい。
Well, as Fukuda-san said, each of the episodes was hard work. It was hard work for them because it was robot anime, and it was hard work because it took a full. We were working on it for a full year.
And just to point out to once again to our viewers, that's quite rare in the anime business. I mean, we were moving at that time into a situation where the average anime show would only run for one core, would run for 13 episodes. So it's only the very, very big shows, the ones that people are really putting their money behind, that will run for 26 or 52. And in the case of, I'm trying to remember how many there were in Gundam Seed. I mean, we had Gundam Seed and then we had Gundam Destiny, so it was like 100 episodes or more, right? If there was something you could go back and change about Gundam Seed, in retrospect, what would you change?
そうですね。いや、変えるくらいなら全部作り直したいっていう。リマスターで結構リマスター作品っていうのを後日作りまして、それでかなり直させていただいたんで、結構サンライズに嘘ついて結構いっぱい直してもらったんで、はい。それだけで大丈夫かなっていう気がします。
I think if I was going to go back and change anything, I would remake the whole thing. I did get to fix a lot when we released the remastered edition. I tricked Sunrise into letting me fix a lot. And then after my question, he said, I told them that I would maybe fix 500 shots and ended up fixing 1,000.
I want to get back onto this HD remaster. It's one of the worst kept secrets of the anime business that when something goes from television to DVD or Blu-ray, that sometimes the staff will sneak in and fix stuff. You just have alluded to having fixed like 1,000 shots within Gundam Seed. But what kind of changes were you making?
まず、内緒ですよ。内緒にしてくださいねってしかないんだけど。
This is secret.
It's okay, nobody's watching.
わかりました。全カット、ほぼ全カット手入れてます。で、あと、ほぼ全カット手入れてるのと、編集を少しずついじっております。カッティングをちょっといじっております。あと、音楽も若干変更しておりますので、それで何をしようとしたかというと、同じように見えるように全部直しちゃったっていう感じですかね。 で、なぜそうしたかったかというと、大丈夫ですか？なぜそうしたかったかというと、その当時、テレビのフレームが4対3だったんですね。シードが作られていたの。それを16対9に直したいんですよ。したかったんですよ。なぜかというと、それをすることによって、あと10年、20年生き残るフィルムになれるからというふうに思ってたんですね。で、その16対9に4対の画面を変更するにあたって、すべての素材を、まあ、なんですか、寄るんじゃなくて、もう一回その画像の解像度を上げて、一回ばらして、もう一回、コンポジットし直したっていうんですか。要するに、一回セルの段階に戻して、もう一度撮影し直したっていう形なんですね。その時に、少しずつフレームを直したりっていうその地味な作業をずっと続けてやりました。
I did something to pretty much every shot. And I messed around with the editing a bit, and I changed the music a bit. I was trying to make it all the same because what had happened was TV had gone from being 4:3 to 16:9, and I wanted to fit the series to that screen ratio so that it would survive another 10-20 years. And so in the process of changing from 4:3 to 16:9, we had to increase the resolution, pull it all apart, basically back to its cells, and then refilm them, essentially. And then in the process of doing that, we made little tweaks along the way. It was a painstaking process.
And with that in mind, were there any, this is for Mr. Fukuda again, were there any unexpected challenges when working with the HD remaster? It sounds like you knew exactly what you were doing, but was there anything that took you by surprise when working with those materials, such as, for example, losing some of the materials, which I know has happened on some anime shows?
素材がなくなってたというのがありました。一応全部出てきたのかなとは思いますけど、そうですね、一回全部素材をばらしてもう一回作ったのと、あと、そのなんだっけ、スペシャルエディションというシリーズ、要するにその総集編的なものを作ってるんですけど、それで新作したものも含めて全部まとめて一本にしてるんですよね。全部の素材を集めて一本にしてるっていう形なんで、それでいて、素材、まあ、展開とかそういうものは全部一応テレビシリーズに準ずる形で作ってますんで、あ、そうそうそうそう。リマスターになると総集編がありません。そういう一本減ってます。総制作話数が。
We did lose some of the materials, actually, but we did find them all in the end. And it was just a case of pulling everything apart and putting it back together. And we did cut out the recap episode in the remaster version.
Now, as we're going to be releasing this series on Blu-ray in English and French very soon, there's likely to be people watching who haven't seen Gundam Seed before. With that in mind, how would you describe that series to a potential new viewer?
そうですね。まあ、フランスの皆さんだと、僕が知ってる日本のコンテンツだと、グレン大佐っていうのがあるんですけど、まあ、非常に絵が美しくていいアニメなんですけど、まあ、僕もどちらかというと、ああいうタッチの絵が綺麗で、音楽が良くてっていうようなアニメーションがすごく好きなので、まあ、そういう意味では楽しんでもらえるかなと思いますし、ガンダムというコンテンツをもし知ってる方だったら、まあ、なんていうんだろう、また違う見方が、まあ、シードではできると思うし、全く新しく見られる方にはやっぱそうだな。 とりあえずあまりロボットものということを意識しないで見てほしいかなというのはあります。キラとアスランという男の子たちのお話だというふうに、僕なんかは思ってますんで。
Well, I know that Grandizer was popular in France because of the beautiful animation and the music. And I like that kind of animation too, and I hope that that Gundam Seed will fit into that category. I think if you already know Gundam and enjoy Gundam, you'll like this film. But if you're coming to it new, I hope that people will think of it not as a robot animation, but as what it is, which is a story of Kira and Athrun.
And I'm afraid with that, we are in fact running out of time. We've already run a little bit over, actually, so thank you very much for staying with us for this long. Mr. Ikeya, I'm very sorry we didn't have more questions for you, but sadly, my hands are tied by the desires of the fans to know about all sorts of things they're not supposed to ask about. Mr. Fukuda, thank you very much for talking to us about Gundam Seed 18 years ago and Gundam Seed now as well. If you would like to send a message to your fans in Europe in the style of Japanese interviews, now is your chance to do so. But thank you very much for talking to us today.
まあ、もうね、20年が目の前なんですけれども、その当時日本で一生懸命苦労して作ってたものが、まあ、正直こんなに世界の方々に見てもらえる機会が、ね、あるとは全然思わなかったんで、とっても嬉しいです。イギリスもフランスもヨーロッパ、すごくいいとこだなとか思って、僕も行きたいなとか思ってるんですけど、まあこういうですので、テレビの画面の中からご挨拶させていただきます。本当に今日はありがとうございました。
I never thought that this anime that I worked so hard to make 20 years ago would be seen by so many people around the world. So it's really fantastic. I wish that I could be in Europe, that I could visit the UK and France and the rest of Europe. Unfortunately, that's not possible right now, but it's been great to communicate with you online like this. So thank you very much.
And Mr. Ikeya?
はい、今日はありがとうございました。僕も20年近く前にガンダムシードに、関わったときに、今、福田さんもおっしゃったように、こういう皆さんのもとに強く届くような先になるとは、そんなにそこまで思わなかったんですけども、この結果が出たことで、また今回、ブルーレイ版がイギリスとフランスの方に届くということもとても嬉しく思います。ガンダムシード、ガンダムというカテゴリーの作品ではありますが、もちろんロボットものではあります。ただ、福田さんもずっとおっしゃっていたように、キャラクターたちのドラマというかですね、の部分がとても強く目に印象的に残ると思いますので、ぜひロボットものと見せずにですね、ぜひご覧いただけるとありがたいなと思います。はい。
Thank you. Well, as Fukuda-san said, I never imagined that Gundam Seed that I was working on nearly 20 years ago would have the impact that it has. And now it's coming out on Blu-ray in the UK and in France, which is fantastic. Gundam Seed is of course a robot anime. It is part of the Gundam universe. But as Fukuda-san said, it's very much a character drama as well. So I hope that that's the impression that you will get from it, and that's how you will watch it.
And with that, I'd like to thank Mr. Fukuda and Mr. Ikeya for joining us today, and Bethan Jones, our interpreter, wonderful as always, and thank you for joining us.
Peggy 16.